Thanks so much for joining us. Montreal police say 3 people are dead, including an officer, after a horrifying shooting in broad daylight in a central Montreal neighborhood. And we warn you, the video we're about to show is graphic. This video from X shows officers entering a grocery store in the Côte-des-Neiges district. Police have reported that a civilian was also injured in the shooting and later died, but it's not clear exactly where that happened. The shooting then spilled onto the streets where officers were shot at. Police would only say one suspect had been, quote, neutralized without providing any further details. Police Chief Fedi Derguer provided these details about the original 911 call.
We received a 911 call coming from a citizen. So I don't know, but I don't think it was police target, but maybe we'll see what the investigation will tell us. But it was a 911 call from a citizen telling us there's somebody who's shooting from a specific place. And at that moment, when the police came, that person wasn't on the different floors, he was already on the rez-de-chaussée. Then the crossfire starts.
Police cordoned off the area in the neighborhood as they searched for a second gunman, but the area was later reopened with no other suspects apprehended. Saskatchewan Mounties say 2 officers shot last night are in stable condition. The officers were hit as they arrived at a house to investigate an assault in Melville, northeast of Regina.
As members arrived at the residence, a firearm was discharged and 2 members were struck. The officers were transported to hospital in Regina with injuries believed to be serious in nature. At approximately 2 a.m. this morning, the suspect and another occupant exited the residence. The suspect was arrested and remains in custody. The other occupant was initially detained but was released shortly thereafter, and it has been determined that that person was not involved in the incident.
Chamberlain did not have an update on the officers' conditions this afternoon. He says as part of their investigation, a safety assessment will be done to see if anything could have been done differently to protect the officers. Just 2 years after winning a landslide election victory, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced he will be resigning. He becomes the 6th Prime Minister in a decade to quit, which is an extraordinary turnover in a country long known for its political stability. We get more from Jill Lawless with the Associated Press.
In an emotional statement here in Downing Street, Starmer said he accepted that the Labour Party no longer thinks he's the right person to lead it. The party will now choose a new leader who will also become Prime Minister within weeks. Nominations open on the 9th of July, they close a week later, and the new leader will be in office by September the 1st. It could also happen a lot quicker than that. The leading contender to replace Starmer is the ex-Greater Manchester Mayor, Andy Burnham, who last week won a special election for a seat in Parliament with the express purpose of coming to London to challenge Keir Starmer. There's enormous enthusiasm among Labour lawmakers for Burnham because they are desperate for a charismatic leader who can reverse the party's failing fortunes. Keir Starmer took office promising economic growth and political stability after 14 turbulent years of Conservative rule. He's failed to deliver on either front. The economy remains sluggish. He made a series of political missteps over issues including welfare reform, and disastrously, he appointed Peter Mandelson, a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, as Britain's ambassador to Washington. Disastrous results for Labour in local elections last month were the final straw for Labour lawmakers who began demanding in droves that Starmer step down.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance says peace talks with Iran have created a good foundation for a successful final deal to end the war that began at the end of February, but there's still much to do.
And this is probably what we're most excited about as Americans, the Iranians have agreed to invite IAEA inspectors back into their country. That is a major milestone for the American people and the first step in permanently denuclearizing or permanently ending a nuclear weapons program in Iran. We laid a very good foundation for a successful final deal. The final deal is the house. We set the foundation. We haven't built the house, but we've laid a successful foundation to get to a good place for the American people. I think it's important for all of us to appreciate how much was done, but honestly, there is still a lot to do as we continue to make progress on the nuclear talks, on the economic talks, as we continue to demine the straits and ensure that that flow of traffic continues to pick back up.
The mediators' joint statement says both sides also agreed to the creation of a de-confliction cell between the U.S., Iran, and Lebanon to end military operations in Lebanon. Iran's foreign minister says the first real test would be the Lebanon de-confliction cell. Canada is looking to build up to 10 new nuclear reactors over the next 15 years, sell more CANDU reactors, and double uranium exports. At a news conference Monday in Newmarket, Ontario, Energy Minister Tim Hodgson released a new national strategy for nuclear power, calling it a, quote, new civilian nuclear renaissance. He says this is a direct complement to the government's national electricity strategy.
If our goal is to double our grid and reach net zero by 2050, there is no credible plan for Canada to do that without nuclear energy and the clean, reliable baseload power it provides. Moreover, there is no credible plan for Canada to move to become an energy superpower if we choose not to build upon one of the strongest energy advantages we have. We are also investing in the development of microreactors that could one day provide clean, dependable heat and power for remote northern defense and industrial applications. And we are advancing Canada's role in fusion, building on decades of Canadian expertise in tritium handling and the fuel cycle. That is how our strategy ensures that the next generation of nuclear jobs, companies, and innovative breakthroughs happen here in Canada. Because if we don't, they're going to happen somewhere else.
The strategy calls for construction to start on 2 new large-scale reactors by 2035, with 5 more to be planned or under development by 2040. Land trusts may turn out to be one of the big election issues as Torontonians head to the polls in an October municipal election. Right now, a municipal program allows land trust groups and other nonprofits to buy at-risk rental buildings and keep them affordable for residents. In 2022, the city launched a multi-unit residential acquisition program with $10 million in funding, a sum that has since increased tenfold to $100 million. And these land trusts want to see the funding doubled to $200 million.
Our neighborhoods are changing. The big trend is they're becoming unaffordable. The way that real estate speculation is occurring means that our communities aren't often in control of that change. And we're trying to take ownership of land in our community to get back control of that change by being the owner on behalf of the community of property that we then are going to steward and maintain the affordability for. To acquire a rental building takes about 6 months, and we get permanently affordable housing. To build a new rental building takes 3 to 5 years and costs double, sometimes triple as much.
So if the city and our city councilors and our mayor especially can come out and be a champion of the cultural district program, I think community land trust can make leaps and bounds over the next few years.
So we are helping the city, deliver on its responsibility to house the citizens and to protect neighborhoods.
According to the Canadian Network of Community Land Trusts, about a dozen of the member-run organizations are now operating or in the process of forming in Toronto, more than in any other Canadian city. The only Jewish board member of the Canadian Museum of Human Rights is stepping down over a controversial exhibit set to open on Saturday. Mark Berlin submitted his resignation in a letter to Heritage Minister Mark Miller. Berlin's concern centers on the Nakba exhibit, which tells the story of the displacement and disposition of 750,000 Palestinians during the 1948 Arab-Israeli war. But Berlin says the exhibit fails to explain the role of Arab states in expelling Jews and fighting those who ultimately established the State of Israel in 1948. He says the exhibit will fuel anti-Jewish hatred in Canada. Berlin says the museum is not fulfilling its mandate to unite Canadians, and he argues it's institutionally tainted against Zionism. The Winnipeg Museum has said the exhibit is about an important topic and is not meant to tell the entire history of the region. Teams of volunteers have been deployed to central Manitoba to help with cleanup efforts following severe flooding in the Duck Mountain Provincial Park region. In the community of Minitonas, which is about 4 hours northwest of Winnipeg near the Saskatchewan border, around 200 homes have been affected. The flooding was caused by a combination of snowpack in the hills of Duck Mountain, accompanied by large amounts of rain, which destroyed several beaver dams in the surrounding rivers. Tammy Suter of Samaritan's Purse is on the ground in Manitoba and joined me via Zoom to explain how they have been helping and how the community is reacting.
There's about 200 homes here in town that have been affected. Almost 99% of the homes have had some sort of flooding in them, anywhere from 6 inches to 7 feet. We have about 137 work orders written of people that we're trying to get to. And so, you know, it's a good percentage of the community here that still needs some help. And so whether it's, you know, some of them might have got their contents out, but we still need to take out their drywall and their flooring and all of that kind of stuff and get it all dried out. And then we'll also spray as well as we have a hospital grade disinfectant that we will spray the homes with. And so it helps with mold, mildew, bacteria, anything that might have been in the water. And we'll pressure wash it. And then we'll do this hospital grade spray after that so that they can get it to that rebuild ready stage. This community is resilient. And when we first got here, neighbors were helping neighbors and people were helping each other out. And it's just a beautiful sight to see. Love coming into communities who just small town communities who help each other out when people are in need. But that lasts for about the first week, as we've seen in our responses. And so after that, people are like, oh, I'm tired. I'm tuckered out. I don't have any energy left. And so there's still a lot of work to be done.
Samaritan's Purse is working in tandem with Christian Aid, and both are still in need of volunteers to assist with the relief effort. Lethbridge Fire and Emergency Services is reminding people about river safety after a rescue this past weekend. On Saturday evening, crews from 3 stations responded to reports of people in distress in the Old Man River. Using rescue boats and tactical swimmers, crews successfully rescued 2 individuals from the river. LFES says river conditions remain hazardous due to high water levels and strong currents. Until water levels return to a safer state, residents are urged to stay clear of the river whenever possible. Anyone planning to float, paddle, or boat should check current river conditions before heading out at rivers.alberta.ca. A new partnership has been announced in the southern Alberta region. The town of Colehurst and Lethbridge County are joining forces to create a shared service model for land use planning and development. Tori Campbell, Reeve with the Lethbridge County, says the partnership will launch in January of 2027, providing a central point of service for planning and development matters in both Colehurst and Lethbridge County.
Initially, I think it's going to be a level of service. I think it's going to be, we are going to increase the level of service to our residents in both of our municipalities. We're going to have more expertise, we're going to turn things around faster, and I think you'll really see that from an application perspective, how we handle that, how we expedite those processes. I think it'll be longer term that everyone will see those impacts. I think it'll be in our statutory documents, how we look at those, how we choose to review those, and the nuance of that I think will take some time before you actually see that. So we're talking about long-term strategies, municipal development plans, land use bylaws, growth studies, talking about planning applications, area structure plans, land use redesignations, subdivision applications, development permits, compliance certificates, safety code services through our third-party agency that provides that for us, and then just general planning and development inquiries.
For anybody building a home, starting a business, or developing land in our community or in the county, there's now one centralized place to go for all planning and development matters, which will hopefully streamline people and services and get them to the right places. There's always challenges in a small town to retain staff, but also to look at our assessment base and to pay for that. So by working with the county, we're able to provide the service, to dip into more expertise, to expand our services and deliver the planning services that our residents expect in both communities. We want faster approvals, we want more consistency and shared expertise with, again, that greater depth of staff. We want to have control over our planning documents and be able to move things along quicker.
All in-progress planning and development applications will be transitioned to Lethbridge County Regional Planning and Development on January 1st. Southland Trailers, in partnership with Winston Churchill High School, are celebrating their first year of their established welding and trade school for high school students. The Institute of Welding provides students in grades 9 through 12 an introduction into the trades while building hands-on skills for their future. Additionally, students who would like to continue in the industry after graduation can enter an apprenticeship program offered by Southland Trailers.
It's just the understanding of how to go beyond your comfort zone, try something different, try something new, and if it doesn't work, you're still going to learn something new from that and take that into a different industry or a different application. So yeah, welding might not be for everybody, but at least it gives them a little bit of an understanding of what that industry looks like, and again, to shine a light on the trades industry that's been shunned for so long that it's a dark, grungy, bad environment. It's not. It's something much, much more than that and evolving quite nicely.
Class was boring, and there wasn't really a whole lot of good actual, you have foods in shop class obviously, but there wasn't a whole lot of anything that really enticed me in school. You know what I mean? It was just, and then when they made this program, it was something that I could actually learn to use for actual real life, building foundation for an actual future. You know what I mean?
He doesn't mince words. It was boring. The school has brought the interest of about 300 students over the course of the last school year. And before we go to break, sad news in the music industry. On Monday, legendary producer Clive Davis has died. David, who was maybe best known for discovering Whitney Houston, rose from a record company lawyer to become one of the most powerful figures in the music business.
Davis launched and resurrected the careers of countless superstars, including Janis Joplin, Whitney Houston, Carlos Santana and Alicia Keys. Unlike other record moguls, whose influence waned as they got older, his only seemed to grow over the decades, in a career that spanned multiple genres and labels. Davis also signed Billy Joel, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Patti Smith, The Grateful Dead and American Idol winners Carrie Underwood and Kelly Clarkson.
Clive Davis was 94 years old.
Sean Haney here with RealAgriculture.com. The historic rally in the cattle markets is testing unprecedented territory, even as indicators surface that wholesale beef prices are hitting a consumer ceiling. Speaking on the beef market update on RealAgriculture.com, Ann Wasco of the Gateway Livestock Exchange reported that U.S. cash trade holds steady at $255 per hundredweight. Wholesale cutout values have remained flat for 6 straight weeks, which is kind of an unseasonal stall for June as we get into the heat of the grilling season. Yet, extreme supply scarcity continues to favor the farm gate, specifically the rancher. Western Canadian fed cattle are poised to establish another all-time record high this week, with dress sales hitting $590 to $592 delivered. To fill expanded pen capacity, prairie feedlots are relying heavily on American feeder cattle again this year. Canada imported 41,000 feeder cattle in April alone, bringing the year-to-date total to 156,000 head. Now that's a 24% increase over last year. While processing volumes will scale up seasonally this summer, the underlying fundamentals remain exceptionally tight and prices strong for the producer. For Bridge City News, I'm Sean Haney with RealAgriculture.com.
Statistics Canada reported a third straight month of rising gas prices due to the war in Iran. This pushed the annual rate of inflation above 3% for the first time since 2023. With more on this report is Michelle Zadikian with the Canadian Press.
Statistics Canada says gas prices rose for the third straight month in May, thanks to the Middle East war and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, though progress toward a peace deal has meant prices at the pumps were lower in recent weeks. Air transportation costs were up 7.4% year-over-year in May, as airlines grappled with rising jet fuel prices. Meanwhile, higher prices for fresh fruit and vegetables pushed grocery store inflation up 0.5 percentage point to 4.3%. Tomato prices rose a whopping 45.2% annually in May, which StatCan attributes to tough growing conditions and U.S. tariffs curtailing production in Mexico.
The union for nearly 19,000 Canadian auto workers is kicking off contract talks today with Ford. It's the first of the Detroit 3 automakers to sit down to hammer out new collective agreements. Current deals signed by the automakers and Unifor 3 years ago are set to expire in September. The latest round of bargaining comes during difficult conditions for the sector as it copes with U.S. tariffs, uncertainty linked to the future of CUSMA, and the introduction of Chinese electric vehicles into Canada. A firm capital property trust deal worth $128 million has cleared a Competition Bureau inquiry. The trust says its deal to buy a 50% stake in a portfolio of 10 manufactured home communities in Alberta and Saskatchewan is now expected to close in the third quarter of this year. The trust will own 50% of the portfolio, while its joint venture partner Sun Park Communities will own the other half. The properties are concentrated in Western Canada and includes several communities along Alberta's Highway 2 corridor between Calgary and Edmonton, and locations in and around Saskatoon. And now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 144 to 35,002. The Dow was up 148 to 51,712. The S&P 500 was down 27 to 7,472. And the Nasdaq was down 351 to 26,166. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down 331 to 74.02 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 4 cents to 3.23 US. Gold was up 39.68 to 41.9142 US an ounce, and silver was up 18 cents to 65.08 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $8.14 per bushel. Barley is at $6.53. Canola is at $16.67, and corn is at $7.37 per bushel. Live cattle are up 102 to 255.82. Feeder cattle August contract was up 382 to 370.42. Lean hogs July contract was down 37 cents to 94.65, and the Canadian dollar was down slightly over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 70.60 US.
Recapping one of today's top stories, Montreal's police chief calls today a nightmare after a shooting left a police officer, a civilian, and a suspect dead. Police were targeted with gunfire this morning as they responded to a 911 call about someone sticking a gun out from a hotel window. Chief Fadi Daguerre says a second police officer was seriously injured in the shooting but is in stable condition. Police are still trying to determine the suspect's motive. With picturesque prairie and mountain scenery, Alberta is a prime location for the filmmaking industry. Local actor and filmmaker Nick Bolee shares more on the treasured locations of southern Alberta for where the entertainment industry looks to use as their magical movie backdrop. That interview is coming up right away with Nick. Also, when you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or a YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our content and poll questions. And before we go to break, we want to pass along a number. We're talking about 600. So what's important about that number, you may ask? Well, that is the number of YouTube subscribers that we are looking to gain between now and July the 1st. We want to hit 46,000 subscribers by Canada Day, and right now we're at 45,400. So if you watch Bridge City News, but you have yet to subscribe to our YouTube page, please do so. You'll find not only our newscast, but also the special content from regular contributors like Brian Lilly and Dave Naylor. And you can also watch all of our interviews and news specials as well. There is plenty to see on the Bridge City News YouTube page. So 600 of you, please go there right now, hit subscribe, and ring the little bell so that you get a notification when we post new content.